I'm writing this from a riad in the heart of Marrakesh. The power's cut, my satellite phone's smashed, and the ruby, the damn ruby, is glowing in the corner like a coal that won't die out. I've barricaded the windows with bed frames and flipped every mirror in the house. It doesn't stop her from coming. It only slows her down. I don't know if this will upload. I don't even know if I'll be here by dawn. But if someone finds this, if someone hears this, don't go after it. Don't chase the treasure. We thought we were clever. We thought we were lucky. We were bait. The job came through an old contact in Tangier, a smuggler named Youssef with a reputation for brokering high-end artifacts to private collectors. We weren't amateurs. We'd pulled relics out of crypts in Peru, lifted cursed jade from temples in Myanmar. But Morocco was different. This wasn't just about loot. This was a test. The target was simple: a ruby the size of a chicken egg, supposedly buried beneath the ruins of a collapsed bathhouse just outside the Medina. The locals called it the widow's tear. They said it was cursed. Naturally. But legends didn't matter to us, only weight in grams and price in euros. We were a four-man crew. Me, Nick, ex-military, logistics and entry. Casey, demolitions and extraction, fast hands, smart mouth. Omar, local digger, knew the old city's underbelly better than anyone. Tess, artifact expert, ex-museum, brilliant and cold as dry ice. Tess was the one who found the map, a vellum scroll from the 13th century, showing a hidden chamber beneath the Hammam ruins. Not marked on any official record, no tourist signs, just sand and silence. Omar got us in. We went in at night, slipping past the rusted gates with headlamps and crowbars. The bathhouse was a crumbled dome of mosaic tile and stone arches, cracked by time and earthquakes. Its walls were crawling with vines. It smelled of dust and ash and something older. It didn't take long to find the shaft, covered by a stone slab etched with ancient Berber symbols, warnings by the look of them. We moved it anyway. The air that came up was cold and wet, like exhaling lungs. I remember Casey whistling and saying, "Smells like a tomb. Let's get paid." We dropped in on climbing lines, 10 meters down into the dark. The chamber was massive, an underground antechamber carved out of the rock, smooth as glass. Our lights caught flashes of murals, women with veils covering their mouths, eyes blacked out with soot. Chains, a red stone held above a pit of hands. At the far end was a raised dais, and on it, the ruby. It wasn't in a box or a case. It floated above a ring of carved bone, suspended as if held by unseen hands. It pulsed faintly, like it was breathing. None of us spoke for a second. Then Tess stepped forward, pulled out a lead-lined case, and said, "Let's not stare too long." She reached out. That was the first time I heard it. A whisper, not a word, more like a syllable dragging nails along the inside of your brain. Balakis. I jerked my light toward the shadows. Nothing there. But Omar had frozen, pale, shaking. "You heard that?" I asked. He didn't answer, but he looked at Tess with wide eyes. "We should leave it," he muttered. "We should not take this." Tess didn't flinch. "We came for the ruby. We're not leaving empty-handed." She grabbed it. The second her fingers touched it, every light in the chamber blinked out. The temperature dropped so fast, I felt my breath ice in my lungs. Then a scream, Omar's. Not from pain, from seeing. We lit the room back up with backup torches, and Tess was already sealing the ruby in the case. But Omar was backed into the wall, mumbling prayers in Arabic. "I saw her," he whispered, "in the stone. She was inside it. We got the hell out." That should have been the end of it, but the real horror hadn't even started. The next morning, Omar was gone, vanished from his hotel room. No sign of forced entry, no bag, no wallet, no shoes. Just a mirror, cracked straight down the center, and a smear of red dust on the pillow where his head had been. Casey joked that he probably took the first flight out, but I saw how tight he was gripping his coffee cup. I saw the sweat. We met in the riad to regroup, sell the ruby, cut and run. But the client never showed. Youssef's shop was closed. The phones were dead. Tess swore she could still feel the ruby vibrating through its case. That night, she started sleepwalking. I found her standing in the courtyard, barefoot, eyes open but unfocused. whispering the same word over and over. Balakis, Balakis, Balakis. Now it's just me. I woke up this morning to find Casey impaled on a spike of rebar in the alley outside, arms stretched wide, eyes burned out of his skull. And Tess? She's gone too. But the ruby's still here. And now, it's calling my name. The thing they never tell you about cursed treasure is how personal it becomes. It doesn't just haunt you, it learns you. The ruby never left the lead-lined case, never opened it, never touched it. But the moment I was the last man standing, it began to press into me, not physically, psychologically, through dreams, through sound, through silence, through Tess's voice, whispering things I wish I could forget. The worst part? I started answering back. I couldn't leave Morocco. Every time I tried, something stopped me. My passport vanished the night after Casey died. When I went to the airport with a digital copy and a new ticket, the road was blocked by a crash. 2 mangled buses, still burning, no survivors. I turned around, went back to the Riyadh, and there, in the center of the courtyard, where I swear nothing had been moments before, was a smear of red dust, forming a perfect circle. Same dust that was on Omar's pillow. Same circle we'd seen under the ruby's altar. I swept it away with a broom and cursed at nothing. But I knew. She was tightening the ring. I tried to throw the ruby away. I walked it to the outskirts of the city in a plastic bag, sweating, heart hammering, looking over my shoulder like a hunted animal. I dropped it in a dry well and ran. That night I woke up to a heavy thud against my door. Then another. Then another. I didn't answer. At dawn I cracked the door open. The ruby was there on the doorstep, still in its lead case, surrounded by fresh footprints in the dust that led nowhere. By the 5th day, I stopped pretending it wasn't real. Tess's voice came at night now, always in the same tone, flat, almost bored, but soaked in malice just beneath the surface. You took it from her altar. The others ran. You stayed. That makes you worthy. The ruby is not a jewel. It is her eye. You have been seen. I drank. I screamed. I covered the mirrors. I started to believe. But believing didn't make it stop. The turning point came the night the lights went out for good. No storm. No grid issue. No explanation. Just a flicker. Then darkness. And in that silence I heard breathing. Not from the hall. From inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the tile. It was faint, but there. Rasping. Steady. Like someone sleeping behind brick. I checked every room, every crawl space. Nothing. Until I opened the bathroom and saw the mirror had healed itself. The same mirror I had shattered the day before. There was something behind the reflection. A silhouette. Long, thin limbs. A head tilted too far to one side. Black eyes and red lips stitched shut with gold thread. She didn't move. But I did. I slammed the door and backed away, and the voice came again. Tess's, but wrong this time. Hollow. Let her in. I made a mistake then. I opened the case. Just for a second. Just to see. The ruby didn't glow anymore. It throbbed. Like a heart. And in its surface, I didn't see my reflection. I saw Tess. Pale. Wide-eyed. Floating in a red haze, whispering my name from the inside like she was trapped in amber. Nick. I slammed the case shut. Screamed. I turned to run, but someone was standing in the hallway. Not Tess, not Casey, not Omar, not alive. A woman. Draped in funeral robes that floated like smoke. Her feet didn't touch the ground. Her mouth was still stitched with gold thread, but her eyes, they were the color of molten rubies, and they knew me. She raised one hand, and I fell. Just dropped like my strings had been cut. My lungs collapsed, my vision doubled, my ears rang. She didn't move again, just stood there, watching me die, until I blinked, and she was gone. When I came to, the ruby was sitting on my chest. No case, no heat, no glow, just resting there, quiet, waiting. I put it in my pack and ran. I didn't know where to go, I just knew I couldn't stay. I crashed into a spice merchant's cart, ran through a wedding procession, shoved past a beggar who screamed when he saw my face. I ended up back here, in the Riyadh, again. like I'd never left, like I couldn't leave. I started researching then, trying to learn what this thing was. There was one name that kept coming up, one that chilled my blood every time I read it. Belakis. The name whispered to me in the tomb. I found it buried in an old French-language thesis on Moroccan folklore. It described Belakis not as a woman, but a punishment, a guardian spirit bound to watch over an object of divine wrath. They said she was the last queen of a sunken kingdom. Her beauty was unmatched, her cruelty endless. They burned her city to bury her, and sealed her soul in a ruby forged from the blood of her lovers. They didn't lock her away to protect the treasure. They locked us away from her. That was a week ago. Since then, I haven't slept longer than 20 minutes. I don't eat. I don't drink. But I can still hear her breathing in the tile. And now, she's whispering something new. Not in Tess's voice, in mine. There's no clock in the riad, no sound of the city anymore, no calls to prayer, no children playing in the alleys, no footsteps on the tile, just my breath, and hers. The ruby's not just watching anymore, it's reaching. Last night, I caught myself speaking a language I don't know. It happened while I was staring into the ruby's case, trying to convince myself to destroy it. My mouth moved on its own. Guttural sounds, ancient syllables. I was chanting before I even realized. When I snapped out of it, I was bleeding from the nose, shaking, and the ruby was glowing hot enough to melt the lead lining from the inside. And in the glass of the lantern beside me, I saw her again, closer this time, leaning in, smiling. I thought about killing myself, not out of despair, out of strategy. If I died holding the ruby, maybe I could trap her again, cut off her anchor to this world, seal her in a fresh corpse. But something inside me wouldn't let me do it. Not fear, something else. Devotion. That's when it hit me. The ruby doesn't just destroy you, it converts you. You don't die from the curse. You become its next host. I tried burning it. I broke the gas pipe in the kitchen, flooded the riad, and lit a match. The explosion should have leveled the building. Instead, I woke up hours later in the courtyard, unburned, with the ruby sitting in my lap, still cool, still pulsing, as if nothing had happened. But the walls were different, covered now, in symbols. The same Berber sigils from the tomb, scratched in soot and ash across every surface, floor to ceiling, even on my skin. My arms were lined with writing, wrapping around my wrists like inked chains. I scrubbed, I bled. They wouldn't fade. The ruby was branding me, marking me as hers. I tried contacting someone, anyone, an old relic dealer I knew in Cairo who specialized in exorcism rites. He answered the first time. I explained everything. There was silence, then laughter, not his, hers. I slammed the phone down, called back. Number not in service. I went to the roof for air and saw it. Every rooftop around me, every single one, had someone standing on it, still, facing my direction, draped in veils and robes, watching. Not a word, not a blink. Then, one by one, they turned their backs and disappeared. That night, I made my final mistake. I went into the cellar beneath the riad. I don't know why. Something pulled me there. Maybe I thought it was a way out. Maybe I hoped to bury it underground again, where it belonged. But the stairs didn't end. They went deeper than any riad should go, through sandstone, past dripping walls, into a chamber I didn't know existed. At the center was a pedestal, and on it, a second ruby, identical, glowing, waiting. I turned to leave and saw the door was gone. And in the reflection of the ruby's surface, I saw not just one of her, but dozens, each emerging from a mirror, from a pool of water, from glass, from me. My mouth was sewn shut in the reflection. My eyes were bleeding red. I blinked, back in the riad, back upstairs. Only this time, the ruby was missing. I tore the place apart, room by room, drawer by drawer. Nothing. Not under the bed, not behind the mirrors, not in the case. I collapsed in the corner, and then I heard water, running water, coming from the bathroom. I opened the door, and there it was, sitting in the sink like a jewel placed in offering. Only now, it had a crack down the center, and something inside was moving. I didn't touch it. I closed the door, locked it, taped it shut, pushed a wardrobe in front of it, covered the walls in salt. Every superstition I could remember. Didn't matter. I started hearing voices through the keyhole, not just hers, the others. Casey begging, Tess chanting, Omar screaming my name like he was still falling. They were all in it. The ruby wasn't a jewel, it was a tomb, a soul prison. Every person it touches gets added to the collection, and once it's full, it opens. I went outside to flee. Just go, run, lose myself in the desert. But the streets had changed, twisted. Every alley curved back toward the riad. Every turn led to the front gate. Every sign read the same word, Balakis, written in blood. I ran until my lungs bled, but the moment I stopped, I was standing back in the courtyard, and the ruby was back in the center, cracked and weeping, blood. That was yesterday. Tonight, the final mirror in the riad cracked on its own. I didn't touch it, didn't breathe near it, but it split from corner to corner, and something stepped through. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. The courtyard was gone. So were the walls, the city, the stars. I was underground again, standing in the same tomb where we first found the ruby. Only now it was whole, pristine. The carvings were fresh, the stone unbroken. Torches burned in sconces that hadn't existed before. And in the center of the chamber, she stood waiting. Balakis. No veil this time, no gold stitches across her mouth, just a face carved by centuries of rage and beauty, and something older than death. She looked at me and smiled. Now, she said in a voice like crumbling stone, you see, I tried to run, but my feet stayed planted, roots in cursed earth. She circled me slowly. Each of you thinks you're stealing something, she whispered, but you are the theft. You are the sacrifice. The ruby does not hold me. I hold it. It is my womb, my prison, my temple. And when the time is right, she stepped closer. Her eyes weren't eyes anymore. They were portals. Blood-red galaxies swirling with faces and screams and flame. I give birth again. I screamed, or thought I did. No sound came out. My mouth was gone, sewn shut. The tomb collapsed around us, not with noise, but light. Blinding red light that poured out of the ruby at the center of the dais. It cracked open fully now, not like stone breaking, but like a mouth yawning. Inside wasn't a jewel. It was hell. Spinning. Endless. A vortex of all the souls it had consumed. I saw Tess in there, Casey, Omar, all of them still alive, still screaming, and I felt myself pulled toward it, my soul stretching, my body dissolving. And then I woke up, back in the riad, soaked in sweat, mouth intact. Alone, or so I thought. There was a letter on the floor, unmarked, handwritten, in ink that shimmered red. It read, "Your role is complete. You are the vessel now. Guard it, feed it, until the next one comes." I didn't understand, until I looked in the mirror. Not my reflection, not fully. Her eyes were inside mine, and they blinked first. I don't remember the next few days, but I know what happened, because this morning, I found a new name scratched into the wall by the front gate. Another artifact hunter, American, arriving in Marrakesh tomorrow. Brought here by rumors of a ruby, a cursed jewel, a lost queen. Someone told him where to find it. That someone was me. I understand now. I'm not a victim. I'm not even cursed. I'm the next guardian. The ruby never needed to be stolen. It needed to be spread. And that's what I'll do. I'll wait. I'll bait. I'll warn. Because that's how the curse stays alive. Not through blood, through stories. And if you're still listening, you're already part of it.